Welcome back, everyone, to the Information Podcast. My name is Gabriel Campos. I'm one of your hosts. And today's episode, we're not going to be in this studio. Rather, we're going to be live from the Diocese of Palm Beach at their men's rally that was held earlier in January. It's going to be a two-part episode. In this first one, we're going to have Father Mike Schmitz sit down with us, have a conversation. It's going to be great. And so stay tuned for what we have with him and as well as our other guests. God bless. Welcome, everyone, to the Information Podcast. We're here at the men's rally in the Diocese of Palm Beach, and we have, I think, a familiar face with us. We have Father Mike Schmitz with us. Such a privilege to be with you, to record with you, and just from the very beginning, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your ministry, for your witness, your talks. Just thank you for everything.
Absolutely, thank you. That you're welcome.
Yeah,
and thank you. It's great. It is really an honor to be able to talk with you.
Yeah. So I really just kind of want to start this off very quick. I had the opportunity to be at Seek.
You were
Salt Lake City.
Really?
I sat a couple of rows in front of you when you gave the talk to the seminarians.
Oh gosh.
And there was a line that kind of brought back to my prayer and to my mind what my spiritual director talked to me about regarding like fatherhood.
Yeah.
So there was a point where I was discerning, should I stay in seminary? Should I leave? I fell in love, right? All those normal things that happen to us. And I was talking to the priest and I said, hey, Father, I just really want to be a father. I kind of see it in this way. And he said, no, that's good. You need fatherhood. He said, a father does two things, provides and protects. He kind of listed down what a father of a family does and a spiritual father, and does those two things. And there was a line that really stuck out to me, the talk that you gave us to the seminarians, where it's like, everyone needs a father. And so being here at the men's rally, sort of trying to rediscover what our manhood is, trying to re-identify what fatherhood is. I just wanted to see if you kind of could touch a couple points on what fatherhood is, but also in the growth of a vocation in terms of marriage or religious life, priesthood. Just sort of, what is the fatherhood to you?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because it is one of those things. It's kind of like, I think, was it St. Augustine who once said something about time? Like, everyone knows what it is, but if you ask me to tell you, I can't.
Yeah.
Something, I don't know, this is a really bad paraphrase or butchering of what he had said. Something similar for fatherhood, because there is how can a person say, this is what a mother is, this is what a father is? Because it's all encompassing in so many ways. And so, as you mentioned, to provide, to protect, but if that's all a dad does, if all he does is just keeps you alive and keeps a roof over your head, then that's good. That's you met the bare minimum. But we all know that there's something only a father can give in so many ways. For example, you might say anyone, quote unquote, anyone can provide, quote unquote, anyone can protect. But there's this, unnameable thing that a father, why does it matter what your father's opinion is of you? Right? I mean, that if you really, because, at any level, you could say, I remember listening to a man say, if you were to ask, do your parents' friends' opinions of you matter?
Yeah.
Like, no. Well, why do your parents' opinion of you matter? And it's, the guy who would ask that question, he seemed to be asking it in terms of giving you freedom to dismiss what your parents think of you. Which I imagine in some cases, someone might have to do that because not every parent is great. Not every parent's opinion is actually valid. And in fact, there's a lot of disastrous parents, a lot of people who have, because of what their parents have done, have experienced great wounds. So yeah, it might be the case that is a great perspective to be able to say, wait a second, I don't care about the opinions of the people my parents' age, even their friends. Why do I care about my parents? Why do I care about my parents' opinion?
Yeah.
On the other hand, the reality is we still do care. So why? And I think one of the reasons why is, well, twofold, but these are maybe just two. One is because they know something about us that no one else does. So my parents' friends, they don't know me the way my parents know me, right? My parents' friends haven't seen me at my best or worst. They haven't seen me in those interim times. On the street, out and about, like I can put on a really good face and I can be the person that I want to present to the world. But at home, that's when the real me comes out, right? And my parents have seen that. So for my parents to be able to see that and say, oh, you're good, and I respect you, and I trust you, and I can trust you. All those things is like, because you know me better than anyone else does. So one piece of it is because our parents know us better. But there's another part of this that a father, when it's Jesus in the Jordan River.
Yeah.
And it's Jesus on Mount Tabor, where the Father speaks over his son and says, "This is my beloved son with whom I'm well pleased." And there's a piece there of, I'm not only beloved, mom loves you. I'm not only beloved, with whom I'm well pleased, I'm proud of you.
Mm.
And there's something irreplaceable of when a father declares over his son, I'm proud of you, in that sense of like, I can trust you, I can count on you. In fact, I know that I could rely on you and you'd come through for me. Does that make some sense?
Oh yeah.
So there's I don't know what you guys think about Harry Potter.
Oh, cut it. I'm sure.
But so one of my go-to books on tape or audiobooks is Harry Potter. In the sense that when I'm done with like a really big project and it's just, okay, I have to drive 2 hours, and I'm listening to something. I'm usually listening to some kind of book, and usually they're very good books, like here, the Bible and something else. But after a project, you sometimes just need to like just veg out, be entertained. And so I'll go through the Harry Potter books. Jim Dale is a great narrator, incredible. But I remember even the first time I ever read the book, I think it's the Half-Blood Prince, the second to last book. This is the one where I don't want to spoil anything, but it's getting to the end of Dumbledore's life, we'll say. And here's Dumbledore, who is he's in so many ways. You have Sirius Black, who's kind of his father figure, but not really. More of he's a godfather figure. He's his dad's best friend. But Dumbledore is that fatherly figure.
Mm.
And at one point, they have to do something dangerous. And Harry says something along the lines of, like, I'm afraid. And Dumbledore says, don't worry, Harry, you're with me. You don't have to be afraid. You're with me. And that's great. And they go into the dangerous place.
Yeah.
And in that dangerous place, Dumbledore himself gets wounded. And as Harry is getting him out of this danger, he keeps saying, don't worry, Professor, don't worry, Professor. And Dumbledore looks to Harry and says, I'm not worried, Harry. I'm with you. And I can even hardly say that without getting choked up in a bit. Not because I love Harry Potter. It's fun, it's fine. We can talk more about that in a different podcast. But because of that fatherness, in relation to the father, where there's that sense of, okay, I'm with dad.
Yeah.
Is there ever a time where dad would say, I know I'm okay. I'm with you. Because there's something, again, when it comes to the heart of a father, it's not just providing and protecting. It's this abstract, I don't want to just say esoteric, because that's just even an esoteric word. But it's this intangible thing of when the father speaks out over you, whatever those words are, those words will sink deeply. Mm. If they're words of condemnation, if they're words of you don't have what it takes, if they're words of that wound, those wounds will be really, really deep.
Yeah.
But if they're words of acceptance, if they're words of trust, if they're words of, again, I'm proud of you, then those will go deeply too, because those are words that they don't wound. Those are words that leave a mark, but they leave a mark of identity.
Yeah.
Sorry, so that was a lot.
No, that was a great answer. But that sort of leads up to the second question, where just in the Catholic sphere, but also just within my diocese and just talking to the seminarian brothers, we've all sort of seen this resurgence in young Catholic men finding their identity in the Father, sort of claiming their sonship, claiming their faith, and sort of coming back in groups, right? There's a lot of Catholic men coming in, which is amazing to see. And obviously being at the men's rally, I think it's something to sort of speak on, because, I mean, you're on a college campus.
Yep.
So how have you seen sort of the progression of the Catholic men on campuses, but also just working with Focus, working with so many different universities, and just right, the Catholic sphere within America, seeing this reclaiming this identity of the sonship, right? Really speaking to the heart of what the Father's trying to tell us, and really just being sort of comforted by him.
Well, I shared this with the seminarians last week at Seek. But when I was in seminary, the instructors, I mean, it was a seminary that was getting better. It wasn't fully what it is now, but it wasn't as bad as it had been in the past. And so they were on their way. And one of the things they would say is, listen, you're not going to be ordained to be sacraments dispensers.
Yeah.
Like, okay, fine. What? I was like, I wasn't worried about that. I guess I thought I would be a minister of the sacrament, whatever. But they said, you're ordained to be what? And they couldn't really offer anything that was substantial or anything helpful. But the best they could offer was to have a ministry of presence. And I'm like, okay, what is that? And I guess that's something what Pope Francis has said too, like, you don't have to smell like your sheep and whatnot. But it's like, even that is, I get it. But what is it ultimately? And it wasn't until after I was ordained a number of years, and one of our younger priests, great man, Father Anthony, that he just was really, he freely and naturally talked about spiritual fatherhood.
Yeah.
And it clicked. It was one of those, oh, that's what they mean. They were trying to avoid that term fatherhood because of, whatever political, ideological, whatever the thing is. But that's what it is. I mean, I think, and maybe that's a reaction to someone being patronized, like, like, oh, my child. That the kind of that stereotype in the confessional. Yes, my son. What do you have? But there's something real about that, and when there's a real fatherhood, then you see that and you realize, oh, that's what it is to be a priest. Is not just, yes, you're right. It wasn't just a sacraments dispenser, but it was more than just a ministry of presence. Anyone can just be around, but who can be a dad? And that was so critical for me. And so what I've tried to do in the last number of years, I've been on campus for 20 years, and so it's been a long time.
Yeah,
seeing young men come through. It's interesting because at first it was this. Well, I was a couple of years older than them, so I felt like, yes, my child. That was weird. I didn't say that. I literally don't think I've ever said it in my life. But there is an aspect of me growing into that. So when I first arrived, I was their older. I mean, old enough. I was of the age that I'd be their older brother's age. So I was ordained at 28-ish. I was on campus at 29. And they were
22, 23.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the graduate students, 24. So I'm like, okay, I'm not too much older. Now, praise the Lord, I am so grateful. I'm actually older than some of their parents, which I really like. So I've grown into seeing more clearly what it is. Because I think, let me back up a little bit too, like especially for seminarians and as priests, one of the reasons why I was almost personally off-put by yes, my son, what do you have to say? Is because I don't think you can just flip a switch and that's who you are to fully grown or almost fully grown men.
Yeah.
I think that has to be earned in a real way. I mean, yes, if a man becomes a father through biology or adoption or whatever that is, then that's real, that's immediate, that's whatever it is. But I think for me, at least, I had to grow into, okay, what is this? And part of me growing into spiritual fatherhood was really feeling like I earned it, in that sense that if I show up enough and I pay enough attention to our students, that they start seeing me as father, then I can be father. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but I didn't want to ever, even when I got to parish too, I had to kind of, again, I just had to grow into that because I get annoyed if someone just claims that.
Oh, okay.
I get annoyed by that. Again, the guys I'm not ordained with, I was the only ordination in my year, but like the guys in the seminary, whatever, who I was ordained with, who like immediately, okay, yes, now. The fellow seminarians, yes, my son. I mean, now immediately, and without any irony, like just that kind of sense of like, bro, are you kidding? We were in class together last week. Like, let's.
The newly ordained kind of do that too, yeah.
and so there's a piece there that what is it that we're growing into? What is it that the young men are looking for? And so this is kind of rambly. I apologize for that because the question was, have I seen a change in young men as they approach? I think that there has been battle lines, for lack of a better phrase. Battle lines have been drawn more clearly in the last number of years.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to toxic masculinity, or even that phrase, toxic masculinity, it asks the question, wait, what is masculinity in the first place?
Yeah.
What is it to be toxic? what is real strength and what is strength that's abused or strength that's actually put at the service of others. And because of that, I think that there's been enough disenfranchised young men that have been able to say, I need to actually ask and answer this question in a significant way.
Oh, yeah.
And versus, I live in a culture that makes no distinction between male and female.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a culture, we're so schizophrenic in the sense that we simultaneously make no distinction between male and female, and yet really don't be the first one.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? What do you think about that?
I mean, it's crazy. So living in Miami's kind of crazy.
So,
for a lot of different reasons, but one of it is really that it's just the culture there is very much in tune with the very relativistic, modern sort of trendy ideas of just live your life.
Yeah.
Right. That's really just the phrase. Just live your life. Just be whatever you want to be. Don't let anyone else sort of try to like tag you along in whatever they're doing. Do your own thing.
Yeah.
So part of it is that part of it is trying to sort of combat and sort of go against the current in a way of our own identities. And I remember I heard this talk back way before seminary, and when we do like theology on tap, and they spoke about manhood. They spoke about how sort of complementary women and men are to each other, and how beautiful it is in marriage to know that we complete one another in so many different ways, and that we have gifts that we truly need to sort of go into in ourselves, just like the women, that they need to have their own gifts. And I kind of, once entering seminary, kind of realizing little by little, like, then how am I supposed to lead the men? How am I supposed to lead the women in my parishes? Because the Hispanic communities are very different from the Anglo communities, or any other community. The cultures it varies.
Yeah.
And so there's been this sort of let's pull a tug, right, of to sort of answer that question with certain communities in a different way. And sort of like not being two different priests to do different communities, but to really like, okay, I understand this community. I need to sort of go to them in this way, in this manner.
Could I
Yeah.
just I think there's something fascinating about that in the sense of even children, right? I remember I've spoken with a dad a number of times who has, I think he has 4 or 5 kids right now. And he talks about how his oldest daughter, she's kind of stubborn a little bit. The second daughter he says, I have no idea how to correct her. I have no idea how to discipline her because nothing matters. Like I can say, okay, you're grounded, or you're in timeout, or you don't get, you're not leaving until you eat the rest of your food. And she'll just sit there. She doesn't care. She's like, I don't care at all. But then so it's 2 girls, and then the next one is a boy. He says, but if I look at him like, even like, you've disappointed me. He's like, I'm so sorry, Dad, what did I do? And that way of like leading or serving his kids is all different.
Yeah.
He's the same dad.
Yeah.
But because they're different, he's like, okay, this doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
And I have to figure out what works for you, because that first daughter, she's kind of stubborn. That second daughter, like, oh no, nothing matters. Nothing but, and I wonder if similarly we have to be parishes in that sense of, okay, this is who you are. This is how you are. Going back to, I don't want to take the mic from you because I just,
but please follow.
No, this has really been on my heart a lot, where we serve communities. At the same time, we serve individuals.
Oh, yeah.
Right? In that sense of the individual gets to tell me who they are. And I was working with some dads actually out in Southern California within the last month, and working with them and their kids. And it was remarkable because we brought a bunch of our students out to this mission project. And one of our students, she said something along that, I'm going to butcher what she said, but she said, I've never seen families who just let their kids tell them who they are. Like in that sense of like, or they're just there to discover who their kids are and help them become that, something like that.
Yeah.
Where I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Where a lot of times it's like, okay, listen, we were swimmers, you're going to swim. Or we play basketball, you're going to play basketball. Or we're kind of a smart family, you're going to be, a smart family. Or we work really hard, you're going to work really hard. Now, I think it's really good to instill virtues and whatnot but to say, you get to, in some ways, without any expectation of, you're going to have a personality like this. Like, we want you to be kind and generous and good and follow the Lord. But you might not be gregarious, right? You might not be, you might be cantankerous, you might be whatever. But all those things surrendered to the Lord and submitted to His grace and His truth. I don't know. It's something I've been really reflecting on lately, because I wish I had a recording of how she said it, because it was like, that is such a great way to parent. That's a great way to spiritually parent. But the temptation in that is this. The temptation for me, at least, is, well, tells the men, shared it with men this afternoon or this morning, is passivity. If you're gonna, just show me who you are. I'm gonna accept you as you are. That's great. But then my temptation can be like, well, that's who you are. Okay. As opposed to, let's take you and go somewhere.
Yeah.
So here's one of my wins and at the same time simultaneous losses. There was a young man at our campus years ago, and he came in. He encountered the Lord. He was raised Catholic, but had I don't care at all about this. Got to campus, went on a retreat. I have no idea how he got on the retreat, but on the retreat, he encountered the Lord in a real way.
Oh.
And then for the rest of his time on campus, was converted, but he was also flighty.
Okay.
And so one semester he'd say, okay, I'm leading a Bible study. And like, great, let's give you all the resources you need to lead a Bible study. And then the next semester he'd say, you know what? I don't have time to do that. I'm good at music. I'm going to do music. I can't do Bible study anymore, Father. Like, okay, we're going to give you the opportunity to lead music. And he was just like, from thing to thing.
Well, yeah.
And because I was like, let you grow. I'm going to let you grow, whatever that thing is. And I'm not going to have any false expectations about who you are, how you. So he grew a bunch and then graduated, became a youth minister for a while, and then became a focused missionary.
Yeah.
And then when he was a focused missionary, his chaplain was it was like this. He said, with Father Mike, I was able to grow wild. And with other father, I grew like domestically.
Okay.
Like, so like I was a wild grape bush, or what you should say. And this is like a cultivated grape bush. And it was, so the difference was that the other priest is Father Eric. Father Eric was like, okay, no, this is how you live. Father Mike was like, just live. I just want you to grow and go. And he's like, no. This is the best way to do that. These are the clothes you should wear when you go into the chapel. This is how you should behave when you talk to a young woman. This is when you're talking to me, how you should address me. That kind of situation. Yeah. And I was more just like, hey, grow. And so he grew wild with me, and then he was cultivated with the other priest. And both were necessary, I think.
It's fertile ground.
Yeah, it was. He was fertile ground. Because I think, and this is in my defense, I hope this isn't my justification. But my defense, I thought, okay, where he is right now as an immature believer, if I were to put heavy restrictions on him, he would see them as these are Father Mike's restrictions. And as opposed to, this is what how a man of God lives.
Yeah.
And so we'll call it discernment on my part and discernment on Father Eric's part. But there's an aspect where it's like, okay, let me take you as you are and where you are. And somewhat, I need to push you harder. And some like, oh no, I need to give you some room, because that's what you would do with your kids.
Yeah.
Now, again, the temptation would be passivity.
Yeah.
I'm going to abdicate. I'm just going to let you grow wild, and someone else will take care of that. Some parents actually do that, right? Yeah. Where I remember talking to a young man in their marriage prep, and he had said he never makes his bed, and his future wife was like, no, he's going to make his bed, and I said, how come you never make your bed? Well, my mom and dad, they had two older brothers, and they said, listen, I'm not going to fight you on this. You don't have to make your bed if you don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm tired. We already raised the other two and had all those battles.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that anymore. And I remember thinking, oh, so your parents spared themselves
from the burden of trying to correct that.
But now your wife is the one who has to parent you. Yeah. Because your parents didn't parent you or something like that. Yeah. Again, I'm making a big statement. But I have no idea if this is on topic.
No, I mean, this is great. I mean, we're going to continue with different speakers, and you have your own talk that you have to prep for, and you kind of already given bits and pieces of it.
Yeah. I'll talk about the 4 marks of a Catholic man.
Nice. Yeah. So I think this might be our time to kind of like let you prepare for your talk. This has been a great time, amazing talk. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you again for kind of taking
this, guys.
Taking the time out of your schedule is going to be here with us.
This is a good example of why it's important to prepare when you're giving a talk anytime.
You did prepare. You have coffee. That's prepared enough.
Me, like, if it's just that, this was meant to be like right to the conversation.
Yeah.
But oh gosh, here's the thing. So this is just for the men. when it comes to giving talks / homilies / whatever the thing is preaching, I think preparation is so key. If I'm not going to prepare, then there's no way I'm going to ever be excellent. You might get lucky a couple times, but trust the Holy Spirit. Yeah, trust the Holy Spirit is going to guide your preparation, and work as hard as you can, because the people of God deserve that. God deserves that. But the winging it stuff is just kind of like, I learned the hard way that I don't wing it. I'm not exceptionally gifted. don't. I was like, no, I'm good at this. Like, no, you're good at it if you work.
You think it's really good.
That's because put 20 hours a week in it. So,
well, thank you again, Father, for your time, your witness, your testimony, your priesthood. Yeah, I can't wait to see your talk later.
It goes well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Information, a seminarian-produced podcast from St. Vincent de Paul Regional Seminary with hosts Gabriel Campos and Michael Santos. Follow and subscribe to St. Vincent de Paul Regional Seminary's YouTube channel, updates for future episodes of Season 2. And please visit our website at www.svdp.edu/information-podcast for more information about this podcast and to see all podcast platforms we are available.